talk to me a little bit about, since we're getting into the training side, you're almost 60, right?
Yeah, I'll be 60 in October.
Okay. So you'll be 60 in October. You've been competing since the 80s. You've been training probably since what, 70s?
Yeah. I started when I was 13 for
Okay.
sports, football and track. Yeah.
So that's kind of how you got into the whole bodybuilding thing. So talk to me about the evolution of your training from when you first started to now, in terms of like, as you get older, working around
Right.
things, you got a lot of mileage, right? It's like, how do you find that you've had to change things along the way? Like, you
Oh,
can't do
big time.
talk,
You don't
talk to
even
us about
know.
that.
You don't even know how much I
Uh,
had to change.
we want to know. We want to know.
You
It's
want to
important.
know this, right?
We
Okay.
want to know
So,
this. It's important.
I did a lot of different like power lift. I always just lifted heavy a lot. We had the Rocky posters up in the basement and Serge Nabray and people like that, some of the old school guys. I did martial arts all through high school. So I was heavily involved. In fact, I was probably better at martial arts than I was bodybuilding. Yeah, I was better at martial arts, actually.
Is there a story there? We'll get into that after, though.
Yeah, we'll get into that after. So anyway, so I had a football tryout. I wasn't even doing bodybuilding. I was lifting for football. After I graduated from high school, I always ran track. I was fast. So I started lifting for my legs and stuff. And when I started lifting more for my legs, my speed just jumped up. So I was already fast and flexible for martial arts. So as soon as I started doing that, my speed just catapulted. So I had a pro football tryout. So I was just lifting heavy, trying to gain weight for football. It was back in '85. And I was going to the gym and a lot of the guys were saying, oh man, you should do a bodybuilding show, because I always had the physique for it, but I was like, I don't know if I should do anything like that, whatever. So one thing went to another. And after the football tryouts and stuff, I said, you know what, I'm going to do a show. Why not? So that's when I started. I started doing the shows. And everything was fine all the way, through my mid 30s and stuff. And then even when I stopped, like what we talked about earlier with my boys. And then when I first got my pro card in 2004, I was still physically fine. Okay. So I'm 42 years old. I get my pro card. And then later in the 2000s, in 2007, I got rear-ended on Long Pond Road. The kid was going about 60. I was sitting still. And so really hurt my neck bad. They wanted to fuse my neck. I tore a couple discs in my lower back. I tore my knee. I needed knee surgery. They wanted to fuse my neck. I said, I'm not getting my neck fused. So I did chiropractic and physical therapy for a whole year just to get my neck somewhat halfway decent. I mean, I was passing out and everything. I would just bend over. I would pass out. That's how bad it was, like pressing on my spinal cord, my discs in my neck. So anyway, it took me a whole year. Now, I just did a show in '06. I got rear-ended in '07. I said, I really want to do a show. So I got out of that. I started training in 2008 again. And then in 2009, I was getting ready for a show. And my nephew comes over on this crotch rocket, right? He comes over on this crotch rocket. He goes, hey, Uncle Paul, you want to ride this motorcycle? I said, sure, I'd love to, right? So I grabbed my helmet, because I used to ride, grab my helmet, and I take this crotch rocket. Now, I'm not used to a crotch rocket. I had like a lowrider type of motorcycle. So I go around the corner, I was speeding up, and I downshifted to slow down, and it went from like third down to first. The back wheel locked up on me. I had to hit the brakes. I went overboard. I went right over the handlebars. I wiped out. I was going about 45, and my hand was way over here. My ankle was completely blown out. I was screwed. I mean, I had holes in the jacket, everything. So they had to flatboard me out on an ambulance. I had 4 wrist surgeries, which you can see how crooked it is. It barely bends. And that was in 2009. So that year in 2009, now this is how sick I am. So March of 2009, I fall off the motorcycle. I had 4 wrist surgeries that year and a knee surgery. I got a staph infection from the plate. So I had to be on a PICC line for 3 months. I was still training. Okay. I was pushing with my elbows. I said, I'm going to compete. I don't care what happens. I stayed on my diet. I did not go off my diet that year. I said, I don't want to be fat and depressed. I'm going to be even skinny and depressed, I don't care. So I ended up competing that year after all that. And that was the first time I got a WNBF pro medal. There was 20 pro masters in 2009. I ended up coming in fourth. So I made my first top 5. I was just happy to be on stage. I wasn't looking to, I always wanted to get a pro medal, a WNBF pro medal. And nobody really knows that story except for my good friend, Steve Subcliffe, who probably could be on the show too. He's in his 50s. And so anyway, that was his very first pro title win. They put me next to him, which was really cool on stage. And so he was the only one I told about that. And so it was really cool that I was able to compete. So somebody that used to bench press heavy and stuff, like I haven't bench pressed or squatted since I hurt my back and since I hurt my wrist. So I did everything with machines and I just manipulated my diet. Everything was diet for me. So I got really good with diet and I just came in super, super conditioned. So I figured, you know what, if I can't beat them, like get like more size, I'll just condition, I'll just diet for a whole year straight for a show.
So tell me this, in terms of how that's influenced your training now. I bet you got to work around a lot of those limitations you have, like with your wrist and your knee and your ankle and your neck.
Yeah. I've had, honestly, now that we're talking about it, so I'm getting shoulder surgery tomorrow.
Oh,
right. I don't know if I told you, but I'm getting shoulder surgery tomorrow because my shoulder's been really bad. I have a slight bicep tendon tear and they're going to do some work in there, but that's going to be like my 12th surgery. I've always just done whatever I could do. I've always heard guys like, well, if I can't squat, I'm not training. Well, that's your loss. You know what I'm saying? Like, and you know what? The body doesn't really know. It just knows resistance and feed it, So, and it's so funny because when I was competing after that, I would just do a lot of leg press reps and I would just condition myself. And I always had the best legs. They weren't the biggest legs, but they were the leanest legs you'd ever want to see. That was my claim to fame, was my legs. And I never squatted. After 2006.
The people need to listen up. People think they get attached to these exercises. It throws off their emotional state. They get like sad that they can't do whatever. It's ridiculous. I used to hear
these guys all the time. They're all like, well, if I can't do this, I can't, you know what? And in the end, it's all about being humble. Are you humble enough to go to the gym and not lift real heavy? Are you humble enough to change what you used to do? If you don't adapt, you're not going to be in a gym. If you're not in the gym, then what are you doing? You're supposed to be getting in shape, right? So to me, it's still a challenge. I love the challenge because I'm an athlete. I crave being challenged. So by being challenged, that just put a whole nother challenge on me. So can I stay in shape and still have all these limitations? And now I'm golfing again, even with this crooked wrist.
No, this is good because these are things that the younger generation needs to hear. Social media is clouding everybody's, I guess, approach in terms of they're overcomplicating it. They're getting so emotional with certain things. And it's really, it's taking away what exercise has to offer, what fitness has to offer, what maybe it used to be in your era. I don't know. Maybe this is just the way it's
100%. 100%. It's like people, they overthink things, and even like with my son, he tell me, hey, Dad, I got like this indentation on the side of my leg. I go, not for nothing. Some of these judges aren't the best. They're not going to see that little indentation. Trust me. I said, my left leg, because I needed left knee replacement. And the last show that I did, I almost didn't compete because I had to have surgery that year for my knee. And that left leg has been getting skinnier. So Paul and I developed a way for my posing that I could kind of hide that it was a little skinnier than my right. And we got away with it. And I ended up winning anyway. But again, it's all about being humble and not being scared to lose. And I can't take defeat. Then I'm going to sit home with my thumb in my ear. You know what I mean? Like you're not going to be in a game. You're not going to have fun. So to me, you're better off taking the challenge, no excuses, go and compete, keep your mouth shut and go do your thing and enjoy yourself. If not, you're just gonna sit home and watch TV.
That's
You
true.
know,
That's the generations before you need to hear this, because this is facts. This is straight facts, and it's wisdom, because life's going to throw a whole bunch of stuff at you, and it's how you adapt and evolve and work with that, not against it. Right.
right, exactly, exactly. And I tell even some of my younger client guys that are younger than my boys, and I'll tell them, if he tells me, oh, I'm getting sore, like my lower back's been bothering me, and I just can't squat. Like I said, don't squat then today. Go do the leg press. I said, I haven't squatted in years. I don't, like everybody gets all uptight if they can't squat. And like you said, like people see it on social media, people deadlifting and squatting and stuff. And like, I get it, but guess what? The legs don't know any different. Just go do your leg presses. I tell you what, if you hit them hard, Dorian Yates used to just do leg presses.
Yeah, and it's a
Yeah,
tough pill to swallow. People see what maybe some of their favorite bodybuilders look like, or this person looks good and he's squatting or doing dips or bench
right.
pressing or whatever it is, whatever exercise, they get emotional about it, and then it takes you down a dark path. I think a lot of these people. I mean, I've been there myself, which is a lesson learned, and this is
Yep.
why it's so cool hearing perspective from the older folks.
Older folks.
The wisdom, it needs to be shared, man.
Yeah.